What is going on, Soul Tribe? I salute the divinity in you, and welcome to my channel, Alchemist. Justin here, and bring you another little nugget to add to the Soul Tribe archive. And in today's video, I'm going to be talking about Mercury in Libra in the 7th house. I'm like, look at Mercury, making connections. This is a dope one for Mercury. Now, when we talk about that speedy planet, some of the natures of or qualities of Mercury is going to deal with like communication. This can be also to like our knowledge, thoughts, forethought, reasoning, practical understanding. Even the sense of wisdom can even come with Mercury as well. Any sort of like commerce will be in there with Mercury. And I also like to think too, considering how close Mercury is to the sun, it's like Mercury is that aspect of how we understand like our inspirations, our dreams, our the things that we feel, and how do we communicate that again, how to so there's even an oracular sense, a divinatory aspect to Mercury as well. Now when you talk about Libra, they're ruled by the lovely Venus, and they are the cardinal air sign, and they are active or yang in nature. And what I like to think about with Libra, especially having that Venusian flair, is that one, I think Libra has a very creative mind. As far as like really great with their words. I think there's a strong, attractive quality of charisma that comes with Libra, and where they can, again, their words, whether it be through music, through writing, through like poetry. Libra has a way of just like, I think it just like making just the language beautiful, you know what I mean, and just like really creating a lot of harmony in our lives. I think that's a real kind of power that Libra has, and creating that balance. And I think that Libra too, and I'm just talking about the energy in general, really has a capacity for holding those opposing views and keeping things fair and just. I think that's a really great quality of Libra. And then you get into the 7th house. This in traditional astrology was known as the setting house, and this is going to be one of the angular houses. This is where the descendant lives. It's the thing that's opposed the ascendant. And some of the themes that the 7th house covers is going to be, but it's going to be like marriage, relationships. This can deal with just like other people. This can be, partners. This can also be just like living abroad. And it's just like any sort of like one-on-one, any sort of just like relationship that you build, that's going to be some of the themes of the 7th house encompasses. So when you're working with this placement, a couple things to consider. You'd have an Aries rising by whole sign, and you're going to want to look to Venus, because Venus is going to be responsible for this house and for your money house, which, your 2nd house, which is just like your money, your livelihood, your possessions. And then Mercury is going to be responsible for your 3rd house, which is like your siblings, relatives, learning, communication, short-term travels, even like dream work and things like that. Sacred rites and things will be some of the things that the 3rd house. And then also your 6th house, which deals with like illnesses, injuries, enemies. Sometimes there could even be like jobs, subordinates, or even pets is another thing. That's animals is another thing that the 6th house covers. So right off the bat, one thing that I would definitely talk about with this place, because Mercury does well in air signs, being that it's at home in Gemini, but Mercury in Libra I think is very charismatic. So this would be one that I would definitely work on your relationship building skills. Work that Mercury. Work that Mercury, because Mercury can bring you in some really quality relationship. You never know who you're meeting. This could be where I would look into different courses as far as like, again, learning how to strengthen how you communicate. Learn how to, just like forming different bonds, because again, then this could even go into like your jobs, where maybe you're doing some sort of like life coach, maybe you do some sort of therapy, maybe teaching. I think this would be a wonderful placement for like any sort of like teacher work, and that could be in your location, or even maybe doing some things abroad possibly. But I think that that's one where this Mercury would really shine. Having a nice sense of community too. Think about your day-to-day commute, having a relationship with the people at your favorite coffee place, or the people at your favorite restaurant, the people that you happen to see at the store. And even too, not that you have to do these things, but even if if you have siblings, thinking about those relationships, because there is, with that 6th house being influenced in there too, flowing to this house, it's not just going to be all just like, in theory, we would love to have just all harmonious relationships, but there are going to be those ones where people are going to have opposing views, and it's just like, how do you hold that space for that? I think that's where that Libra quality will really kind of shine through, in remembering where your boundaries are at, where you're okay with, giving, where there's compromise, and when we're maybe over, where there's maybe even gets to like maybe codependency. We want really interdependence, I think, is a really important thing whenever you have any sort of planets in the seventh house here. So I would even think that would maybe be one sort of maybe challenge that I would think with Mercury, is that because there is a bit of an indecisive quality to Libra, maybe wanting the other, especially in this instance, that maybe leaning to the other for advice, as opposed to making your own sort of informed, not I won't say informed, but making your own sort of choices and things. So that would be something that I would consider as well, just to kind of keep eyes on. But you could even do too, I mean, again, like maybe even learning different languages, because I would see even like teaching abroad could be something that would be really neat for this placement as well. And I find that even in learning different languages, that even just helps strengthen your native tongue as well, exposes you to different cultures, and even helps you to enrich in your community and the people that are around you. What are your relationships with your friends and things like that. But you could really, again, considering that Venus rules this in your money house, you could really do well, even if this is not like a career that you start up. You could do very well maybe in your jobs. That's something, again, I would do something like along the lines of like communication. Maybe this could be customer service, and any sort of things where you're working with the public, I think would be really great. But even as a manager, I could see this as someone who would be very fair, very just, knows how to just work with people, knows how to talk with people, can really just get a feel for the people as well. But I would even say too, be mindful. I would think even too about just like when people are bringing you their troubles and things like that, you just being the one that people kind of like just always put their problems on. That would just be another thing, just like making sure that maybe you have someone else to kind of talk with through because again, that sixth house can deal with some troubles, some misfortunes and things like that. So you just that would just be one, again, like one little sidebar that I would just kind of recommend or just kind of look at. But overall, you're going to be learning from all the relationships you make, and it's not, again, just learning from the ones that are working well, but we're looking at the ones that didn't work well, and what are some things that maybe, again, maybe you overgave, or maybe you didn't give enough. Whatever, whomever could have delivered more. It takes two to tango. And I think that that's always something to consider when you're working with seventh house placements. But I think that you can really, relationships are really going to enrich in your life. And this doesn't have to be necessarily that you have to get married, but that might be something that you consider. Maybe you find your partner, again, maybe living abroad possibly, or maybe you find it while you're in your line of work, or maybe you just happen to, maybe this is, introduced through, just like your community. Who knows? Maybe you happen to be at an event, and then, run into catch eyes from across the across the venue or whatever, and then there's your partner. And then maybe even in turn, maybe they open some doors for you as far as like different jobs, be different. Maybe they have a big family, so that might be something that comes into the mix here. Yeah, what else would I say about this? Yeah, doing something maybe with like short-term travel. Maybe you're doing like maybe traveling for work. Maybe do some sort of like, maybe kind of, I'm thinking like ride share, maybe some sort of like taxi. This could be any sort of like, maybe you're doing in like the public transportation that's involved along those ways, whatever that might look like there. But I think that that's roughly all the things that I would talk about with someone with this placement. You definitely need the whole chart to get a better view of what this placement is looking like. And if you have this placement or know someone who's working with this placement, down in the comment section, tell us how this is manifest for you, what this looks like, or what this energies looks like for you. And if you want to explore this placement more, get to understand this placement and the just rest of your chart, or maybe you want to see what kind of transits are going on in your chart. Saturn, just depending on when you're watching this, is getting ready to settle into Aries soon, so this may be opposing your Mercury here in a minute. So this could be a great idea, or great time to be just kind of getting eyes on that, especially if you have like a lot of Libra, maybe even a lot of Aries or something like that. So if that's something that resonates with you, down in the description box, there's a link for the services, like the prices for the services that I provide. And if you have any questions along those lines, I have my email down there as well. So feel free to email whenever you have a question. And then, last little thing, if you want to work with the lunar shenanigans, on my other channel, The Chariot and Friends, I do these videos every time the moon changes sign, and it just goes over the lunar astrology, and I do a tarot card reading and an I Ching reading at the end of it. So all sorts of mysticism for you there. But until next time, stay mindful out there. Keep raising that vibration through the roof. And I will catch you on the next one. Later.